asset is a resource owned or controlled by an individual, corporation, or government with the expectation that it will generate a positive economic value. Common type of asset include current, non-current, physical, intangible, operating, and non-operating. Correctly identifying and classifying the type of asset is critical to the survival of a company, specifically its solvency and associated risks. Then what are the type of assets? Assets are generally classified in three ways. Number one is convertibility. If assets are classified based on their convertibility into cash, assets are classified as either current asset or fixed asset. An alternative expression of this concept is short-term versus long-term. So what current assets are assets that can be easily converted into the cash and cash equivalents, or typically within a year. Current assets are also termed liquid assets. An example of such are cash, equivalents, short-term deposits, account receivable, inventory, and much more. While the fixed or non-current assets are assets that cannot be easily and readily converted into cash and cash equivalents. Non-current assets are also termed fixed assets, long-term assets, or hard assets. For example of non-current or fixed assets include land, building, machinery, equipment, patents, trademark, and much more. The types number 2 is physical existence. If assets are classified based on their physical existence, assets are classified as either tangible assets or intangible assets. So what a tangible asset? Tangible assets are assets with physical existence. We can touch, feel, and see them. For example of tangible assets include land, building, machinery, equipment, and inventory. So while intangible assets are assets that lack physical existence. Example of intangible assets include goodwill, patents, brand, copyright, trademark, license and permit, and much more. The types of asset number 3 is a usage. If assets are classified based on their usage or purpose, assets are classified as either operating assets or not operating assets. So what is operating assets? Operating assets are assets that are required in the daily operation of a business. In other words, operating assets are used to generate revenue from a company's core business activities. For example of operating assets include cash, account receivable, inventory, building, machinery, equipment, and much more. While non-operating assets are assets that are not required for daily business operation but can still generate revenue. For example of non-operating assets include short-term investment, marketable securities, vacant land, interest income from a fixed deposit, and much more. As we know, in business, every department is serving a common goal to fulfill the mission of the organization. Here are 3 types of department in the company's organizational structures and how they function together to bring a success to a company. First, the production and quality assurance departments. The production department turns raw material or other inputs into final product following a series of processes. This involves the purchasing of the raw materials and effective planning of a long line of production processes. Second, the finance department. Fortunately, in industry, financial experts within a dedicated finance department focus exclusively on the fiscal aspect of running a company. These finance departments include accounting, controlling, and auditing segments. Finance department focus heavily on planning and organizing the company's finance and producing financial statements. Third, supply chain management. Supply chain management is all about the flow of goods and service, from raw materials to delivering the finished good from the production site to the point of consumption. This involves a very efficient and effective electronic system. The supply chain management department must handle the planning, monitoring, execution of supply chain activities. In here, I want to tell you the brief story of Unilever company. Here I made a timeline to make it easier to explain and to make the story more structured. In 1885 to 1899, although Unilever was not formed until 1930, the companies that joined first to create the business we know today were already well established before the start of 23rd century. Then, in 1900 to 1909, Unilever's founding companies produced products made of oils and fats, principally soap and margarine. At the beginning of the 20th century, their expansionary outstripped the supply of raw materials. In 1910 to 1919, tough economic conditions and the First World War made trading difficult for everyone, so many businesses formed trade associations to protect their shared interests. And then, in 1920 to 1929, with the business expanding fast, companies set up negotiations intending to stop others producing the same types of product. But instead, they agreed to merge, and so Unilever is created. In 1930 to 1939, Unilever's first decade is no easy ride. It starts with the Great Depression and ends with the Second World War. But while the business rationalizes operations, it also continues to diversify. And then, in 1940 to 1949, Unilever's operations around the world began to fragment, but the business continues to expand further into the food market and increase investment in research and development. In 1950 to 1959, business boomed as new technology and the Europe Economic Community led to raising standard of living in the West, while new markets open up in emerging economies around the globe. In 1960 to 1969, as the world economy expands, so does Unilever, and it sets about developing new products, entering new markets, and running a highly ambitious acquisition program. Then 1970 to 1979, hard economic conditions and high inflation make the 70s tough time for everyone. But things are particularly difficult in the fast-moving consumer goods or FMCG sector as the big retail starts to flex their muscles. In 1980 to 1989, Unilever is now one of the world's biggest companies, but takes the decision to focus its portfolio and rationalize its business to focus on core products and brands. In 1990 to 1999, the business expanded into Central and Eastern Europe and further sharpened its focus on favorite product categories, leading to the sale or withdrawal of 2/3 of its brands. And then, in 2000 until present now, the 2000s start with the launch of Path to Growth, a 5-year strategy plan sharpened in 2004 with Unilever's Fidelity mission focusing on the needs of 21st century consumers. In 2009, Unilever announced a new corporate vision, working to create a better future every day, and enters the 2010s with a new strategy, the Compass. To support this strategy, the Unilever Sustainability Living Plan launched in 2010. So what is corporate social responsibility or CSR? Corporate social responsibility or CSR is a self-regulating business model that helps a company be socially accountable to itself, its stakeholders, and the public. By practicing corporate social responsibility, also called corporate citizenship, companies can be conscious of the kind of impact they are having on all aspects of society, including economic, social, and environmental. To engage in CSR means that, in the ordinary course of business, a company is operating in ways that enhance society and the new environment instead of contributing negatively to them. One well-known example of a CSR program is from the Starbucks company. Starbucks, the global coffee chain, has implemented a socially responsible hiring process to diversify their workforce. Their efforts are focused on hiring more veterans, young people looking to start their careers, and refugees. So why CSR is very important for a company? It's incredibly important that the company operates in a way that demonstrates social responsibility. Although it's not a legal requirement, it's seen as good practice for the company to take into account social and environmental issues. Social responsibility and ethical practice are vital to the company's success. The 2015 Communication or Equity Global CSR study found that a staggering 91% of global consumer expect businesses to operate responsibly to address social and environmental issues. Furthermore, 84% say they seek out responsible products wherever possible. As the above statistics show, consumers are increasingly aware of the importance of social responsibility and actively seek products from businesses that operate ethically. CSR demonstrates that the company or business that takes an interest in wider social issues rather than just those that impact your profit margins, which will attract customers who share the same values. Therefore, it makes good business sense to operate sustainably. The benefit of CSR speak volumes about how important it is and why the company should make an effort to adopt it in their business. Some clear benefits of corporate social responsibility are improved public image, increased brand awareness and recognition, cost savings, an advantage over competitors, and increased customer engagement, and much more. So the conclusion is corporate social responsibility is more than just a business trend or fad. Businesses that want to stay relevant to new generation and who want to help people in need around the world while increasing their own revenue and efficiency will benefit from embracing CSR.